Good morning or good afternoon to wherever you're joining us from today, and welcome to this week's edition of the MyHR Minute. My name is Dan Johnson, and I'm the Director of Marketing at MyHR Council, and I appreciate you all for taking the time out of your day to join us and for your continued interest in our now weekly webinars. As a reminder, we will be recording this webinar and sending up a follow-up email with the recording, the slide deck, as well as the HRCI or SHRM recertification codes if you need those. Additionally, we'll be sending a link to a survey, which we would appreciate you taking the time to complete. The results of that survey will provide us with valuable feedback on how we can improve our webinars, as well as additional topics that you'd like us to cover in the future. And now I'd like to introduce our speaker for today, Britt Waterman, who's one of our senior attorneys at MyHR Council. Hello, Britt.
Hi, thanks, Dan. Thank you, all of you for joining us today. We're going to talk about quiet quitting, which is kind of a new trend, kind of a hot topic. So I appreciate you all being here. We can delve into this topic together and kind of explore. So what is quiet quitting? Many of you may have heard the term, but not know exactly what this is or how it may affect your workplace. So quiet quitting is performing solely the bare minimum required to avoid discipline and termination, not volunteering for anything extra, not doing anything outside of work hours, just doing the bare minimum to avoid discipline and termination. Or quiet quitting is also performing just below par in the hopes of being terminated for poor performance or not being a good fit, and while they're maintaining eligibility for unemployment and severance, instead of just outright quitting themselves, in which case they would not be eligible for employment and would probably not get a severance amount. So we can go to the next slide. And so quiet quitting, the kind of the focus is on employee engagement. So the employee engagement, the kind of the trend of just barely meeting the performance standards started at the same time as the Great Resignation post-pandemic. The pandemic kind of led to a global shift in job satisfaction. So right now, half of your employees are not going above and beyond. They're not staying late. They're not coming in early. They're not volunteering to take an extra project. They are executing the functions listed on their job descriptions. They are doing what's essential to keep their jobs. They don't feel engaged with the company, with management, with work that they're doing. They're psychologically attached. 32% of your employees are engaged. They believe in the company's mission. They trust their managers. They feel like part of a team. 18% of your employees are actively disengaged. These are your employees who are taking their frustration to social media, who may be complaining about your company, doing TikToks or Instagram posts. These are the employees who have sort of actively taken to express their frustration with their job and with your company and management as well. So outside influences in quiet quitting, so 50% of the workforce, like I said, they could have been phoning it in for years and we just didn't know what to call it and how to draw attention to it as a collective phenomenon. Social media now creates kind of a hive mind. Employees who feel disenfranchised or unappreciated may see social media about quiet quitting and realize that they can cut back. Others may promote work-life balance with work lower on the scale, and engagement. Voices on social media may be louder than the voices of your managers. Layoffs and firings are just not happening right now. clients are frequently asking me for other forms of discipline, other than termination, something less than termination, but more than a warning, creative forms of discipline, because employers just don't want to let employees go right now, even when the employee is causing a problem. So right now, employers will put up with a lot more to avoid firing an employee. So just doing the bare minimum is probably not enough to get an employee fired right now. And employees aren't afraid to not compete for the prize like they used to. They know it's easy to get a job somewhere else that they might like even more. So they're not worried. And those who are performing below par may actually want the time off to search for a dream job and are hoping that you'll give them some severance to pay for it. So it's not a coincidence that this trend is being spotted alongside the boom in remote work. One common, very common factor in quiet quitting among remote workers is they just don't know what they're supposed to be doing. They're not being managed properly. They can be given a job title and an email address and get invited to Zoom meetings, but if management is too busy to connect with them and lay out expectations, they feel lost and their engagement plummets. Remote workers can lack real-time feedback and mentorship, which are two factors in job engagement. Some remote employees are doing a job where their productivity is hard to track. They can be watching Netflix on the clock. Some employers are catching up with this using keystroke monitoring, idle buttons, scoring. Some employers have reduced pay and benefits, thinking that the fact that the job is remote will be enough to attract candidates. You might get a candidate who wants to sit on the couch and do the bare minimum for you because they don't feel valued in their compensation. By compensating them less, thinking, well, the remote job is enough of a benefit to pay less. These employees may feel like they're getting less than they deserve and that just being allowed to work remotely is not enough, and they may be quiet quitting. And shifting to a remote workplace away from coffee breaks and water cooler talk can be really rough on extroverted employees whose batteries get drained by the lack of interpersonal interaction. Workers under 35. Workers under 35 have been showing the biggest drop in the percentage of engaged workers. They feel that mentorship and development opportunities are severely lacking. They don't feel cared about at work. The workforce has evolved over the past 50 years, and now the feeling that leaders have a personal interest in you and the employee's success at the company is a very important aspect of the workplace. If you keep it strictly business and just do your job, that's what you're going to get out of younger workers, that they're going to strictly do the absolute bare minimum of their jobs. You need to combat quiet quitting among your younger workers by listening, mentoring, encouraging, developing, sharing. Younger workers are looking to make a difference and feel that they have found their calling. If they want a sense of meaning and purpose in what they do, you need to nurture this in younger workers if you want younger workers to perform above and beyond the bare minimum at work. So this is something to really focus on with workers under 35. Manager responsibilities. Be a leader, engage with your employees, have conversations, make it clear what the responsibilities and expectations are, define what the roles are within the team, and gather the team together to collaborate. Know your employees' strengths, their weaknesses, their goals, their aspirations. Assign work and organize teams accordingly. Develop skills to lead in a remote hybrid work environment. How can remote and hybrid workers, how can they lead? How can they take on projects and roles in that environment? Inspire. What do you get out of being engaged? How have you personally struggled? How have you overcome those struggles? How can you mentor your employees and connect on a personal level? How can you make your engagement contagious? You need to show what it means to you to be engaged, to lead by example, and don't hesitate to be candid with your employees about obstacles that have stood in your way to being fully engaged. Follow up as a manager right now, it's very important. How is everyone doing on their work assignments or their to-dos after team meetings? If they're behind, get creative, reorganize work, play to your employees' strengths, but you need to carefully define what is acceptable and draw the line. Do not let anyone fall through the cracks. Be supportive, but not punitive. As I said, right now, discipline is kind of a very tricky thing. If a serious performance issue is discovered, start performance management immediately. Do not wait until quiet quitting becomes loud quitting. A good manager meets with each employee for a sit-down conversation at least once a week, either in person or over Zoom, for 15 to 30 minutes once a week. That's something that's essential to engagement and to combat quiet quitting. Employees should know what is actually expected, not what is going to let them fly under the radar. They should know what sets them up for success. So many quiet quitters have stopped doing all work outside of office hours. You want to think about work-life balance and let your employees unplug. But if things need to get done outside of office hours, sometimes let them know that. For non-exempt employees, you are going to need to make sure you are tracking any work activity that takes place off-site or off hours and paying your non-exempt employees for doing it. This is when you define these responsibilities for your employees. If they are at-will employees, do not let defining the responsibilities form an employment contract. Make it clear that their duties may change within your sole discretion based on business needs and also in developing their roles. So this is a positive. Their duties may change as they grow in the company, as they progress, as they succeed, and they may take on new duties, things that that they've been wanting to do, wanting to be developed for. So make it clear that their duties may change and that you have the sole discretion to change their duties at any time. Employee handbooks, make sure that you put these types of things in the employee handbook so that employees know they can be required to work overtime and that refusing to work overtime is a policy violation. Have a remote work policy so that you set out the requirements that employees need to meet in order to be permitted to work remotely. I put PTO policy in here because one huge way to avoid quiet quitting is to encourage your employees to take all of their PTO. This is a bottom line non-negotiable. If you're discouraging your employees from taking their PTO, if they're accruing it and every time they put in a request you're saying no, not now, business needs get in the way, you know, and they've got this PTO bank and you're not allowing carryover every year and they're watching this time come and go and they're not having time to refresh and recharge, or their PTO hoarding, and they're not taking a break. This is going to be a problem. So encourage your employees to take all of their PTO. Put that in your handbook. If your employees are exempt, you cannot pay them directly for extra time worked. You cannot tie their compensation to time worked or you will lose the exemption. You can give bonuses for performance, for going out of their way, showing extra effort. You cannot give exempt employees more money for more time. For non-exempt employees, giving them more money for more time is not an incentive, it is the rule. Remember, employees under age 35 want to feel cared about and like they have purpose. If they are coming up with ideas and suggestions on ways to improve the organization, reward that with more mentorship and an expanded role or project. That is how to motivate. Call people out by name. Employee engagement increases when the employee feels like he or she is not just another cog in the machine. So incentivize, reward your employees, encourage your employees with additional compensation or rewards. They don't have to always be a monetary reward. It can be recognition, but something additional, going above and beyond for employees who are showing that initiative and that commitment. Performance management, I can't say it enough. You can't give enough feedback, both positive and negative, if you want to avoid quiet quitting. Do not save it up for a year for the annual review. Let the employee know what you're seeing right now and set some goals, even if they're small. Don't let it wait. If you want to know about my 5-point performance improvement plan, please open a ticket. If you are not currently a client of ours, certainly email info@myhrcouncil.com or go to myhrcouncil.com for more information. This is my 5-point performance improvement plan that I share with clients is just one piece of HR and employment law advice that is available to you with an Ask HR subscription. This is the best corrective action tool that you can use, is the performance improvement plan. If you're reviewing performance actively on an ongoing basis, you can tell when an employee just doesn't care, as opposed to when they don't know what they're supposed to be doing, especially with remote workers, like I mentioned before. So it looks like we went a little bit over the 15 minutes, and I apologize for that. But thank you all for attending the MyHR Minute today. Like I said, you can find more resources at myhrcouncil.com. You can open a ticket in our Ask an Attorney portal if you have questions, and you can also go to info@myhrcouncil.com if you are not a client and would like more information on our packages, on our services. If you'd like to set up a demo, we'd be happy to hear from you and talk about what we can do for you and the services that we provide. So thank you all for participating today, and I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day.